Hey guys, this is my first formal draw with me where I'm actually kind of talking about what I'm drawing. I haven't done this in the past because I wanted to do an introduction, which was my original post. It was practically just an introduction to who I am and my art. So if you want to go watch that, I will try my best to link it in the cards. If not, it'll be in the bio. But also, since I think that would just be far too boring to listen to me talk about what's literally on screen, I kind of also wanted to go into something that I was thinking about very heavily while drawing this, and that is finding my style / accepting what naturally already is my style. But for the portion that is me talking about the actual artwork that is on screen, right now I am doing the line art for a piece that was actually supposed to be a example for commissions. I had originally made a bust a couple days ago of this same character, which you can see on the left side of the screen, and I kind of fell in love with just his appearance and look, so I decided to keep that ball running and make another piece for a commission example. So I did that, and right now I am just doing some very nice line art. I love using this pencil. It's the Artemus brush set on Clip Studio Paint's asset store, so I'd highly recommend it for anybody that's just looking for a rough pencil for both sketching and for line art, because I love using it for line art. But the other purpose that this piece actually held for me was trying to get more comfortable with being what my style is, I guess. So instead of trying to fight my style by looking at lots of references on Pinterest and trying to conform to different styles, I tried to just draw naturally how I would, because I feel like if you're not looking at 50 bajillion references and characters, which I should say, I did look at references. I wasn't just not looking at references, but what I mean by that is not consistently staring at somebody else's work, trying to make your work look exactly like theirs. So instead, I was doing stuff like looking at how an artist may do a hand, or how an artist may solve the problem of how a eye looks from the front perspective, and trying to use my style with that held information from another artist, instead of trying to replicate a style, which it's not that I always do that, but it's hard because I really want to draw in a certain way, and sometimes it's hard to just accept that your style is naturally how it is, because that's just how you draw. It's not anything bad. It's something actually kind of unique to yourself. So I think I'm trying my best to get to that point where I'm more comfortable just drawing how I do. In a related idea, since this is something for commission examples, I also wanted to find that acceptance of my style, because commissioners aren't looking for you to be looking at other people's art styles. For the most part, commissioners like what you're drawing. They like what they looked at originally, and they want to see that in the piece that you make for them. So I think when we put so much pressure on ourselves to find this perfect style for our commissioner, because it's oh my gosh, I don't want my commissioner to think that this art is bad, even though it looks like how your art would look naturally. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where we overthink so much when the person that is commissioning us, or just likes our art and is wanting to follow us, is liking our art how it was when they did follow you or when they did commission you. You don't need to change everything just to conform to this idea of what you think is good. If anything, you might actually run into an issue rather than making them happy if you change your style all of a sudden after they commissioned you, because I don't know, I kind of think about it this way. If I were a commissioner and I really liked how an artist drew, I'm trying to think of my favorite artist, Canary Witch. She's on YouTube as well. If I commissioned her, I am commissioning her because I like her art. I like her how she comes. I don't want something different. I want Canary Witch's art. So I try to bring that idea into my own life. It's a little hard because as creatives, we are constantly looking for avenues to grow in. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with like making productive change in your art, like changing your anatomy or like changing how you do coloring because you want to excel a little bit more in your shading. That's nothing bad. That's actually just progress. But changing your style, oh my gosh, that's like conforming to something that is not naturally yourself. So that's where I'm coming from, where I'm like, I want to accept that naturally my art looks the way it does. And I'm starting to like it a little more. And this piece actually is a turning point because originally I did not like the way I drew eyes. And I have been practicing my anatomy for a couple weeks now, trying to get a better feel for how the facial structures work, how specifically like eyes actually look in different angles. And I still haven't gotten a good grasp of this one, and actually I think it's quite weak in this portrait. But I'm trying my best to get a grasp of that, and also additionally adding stylization into that, because as a person who does have a stylized art style, you need to be thinking about that when you're doing anatomy studies and stuff. Like, how am I actually going to implement this into my art? Even though you should learn the basics before you go into doing just like stylized portraits. I think there's something to be learned for everyone, even if you're doing like anime. For an example of growing while you're creating, yesterday when I was making this, I actually went ahead and searched up some videos on how to properly shade the skin. And you actually just saw that flash by where I had turned off the layer that had the original shading that I had done prior to doing some studies and how skin actually looks when it's shaded. Because it just wasn't like working. It didn't look natural. It looked kind of muddy, and I was a little sad because I thought my original portrait that I'd done of this character looked pretty good, and I was using the same shading colors that I had before. And instead I decided to saturate my shading a little more, and another thing I did was grabbing a different pen. Sometimes your brush is honestly the issue, and in this case it kind of was. I am using a more rough on the edges square brush, and it helped so much when it came to doing my shading, because originally when I had done my first go of shading the skin, I had made it look so foggy and so like he looked airbrushed, and that wasn't the vibe I was trying to go for, because I like a good medium between cell shading and doing like general actual shading. And on the side, I also have a reference of the human planes of the face in the angle that I have the character in. And that helps so much because you can get your own lighting idea through that little model online. So you can move the light where you want it to be, and then you can properly see how the face would look in that lighting. So it helps with getting like the mid-tones and where like the harshest, darkest parts of the face would be. So really, it's like you can learn while you're doing your art, but don't change things drastically, especially if somebody is giving you something monetary in return, because, you know, they are paying for what they wanted in the first place, so you shouldn't change things too much. And if you are going to change things, you should probably talk to them before that. So if I were to just do semi-realistic, or if I were to just change everything into realistic, I would probably talk to a client prior to that and be like, hey, just want to make sure, because guess what? They probably paid for the style that they saw on your profile. I want to be transparent here and say that I actually was not expecting to have as much fun in this piece as I actually ended up having. Typically, I'm a person that is a bit of a procrastinator when it comes to personal art. I won't actually end up making any for so many months, and the only reason I make art is for like school purposes, but now that I don't really have any classes currently that require me to make art, I don't have any reason to make art for anybody other than for commissioning. But recently I've tried so hard to get myself to just make art, and this one was unexpectedly supremely fun. I blinked and it was over. And I never have those moments. I always have moments of frustration, which, not to say that I didn't have frustration with this piece, because I definitely did when it came to the original shading that I had done previously. But after getting past that, like, the rest was smooth sailing. I was doing the shading that I love with the hair, which is just chunky shading, and it goes by so quickly with that hair rendering style. And especially when I move on to rendering the clothes, I never have fun rendering clothes, but this time, oh my gosh, it was so much fun. I think it's because it was a very clingy material, so I was able to just kind of follow what I had already placed. So in the past, I rendered things like dresses, and dresses, you need so much more context into how you're shading it, because they're flowy materials, and flowy materials require a lot of referencing. But in this case, it was just a clingy jersey material, and so I was just following the contours of his body that were originally there, and it was just so much fun. And I really was able to experiment with how I thought maybe jersey material would look. I wasn't really referencing with this one. I had referenced it originally when I drew the clothing, but for the most part, all of this was just off the top of my head, and I think it ended up looking nice even without having like intense referencing of actual jersey material. And the new brush that I used just was such it's a gem. Like, I love this thing. I don't remember the actual name of it, so if you guys are interested, I'll link it down below, because it's a nice brush. And I'll also link the Artemus brush set as well for my liner and penciling, because that is genuinely my favorite brush ever. I have mentioned this a couple times already, but again, I do actually have my commissions open currently on VGen. So if you guys are interested in getting any type of commission, I will have that also linked in my bio and in the description of this video. Please consider commissioning. It's a very quick process. Like, these don't take that long. So my turnaround times do vary because I am a college student, but it shouldn't take more than like a month to get done, obviously. But yeah, you can choose between just doing line art simply and also doing a fully rendered piece like the one that I'm making right now. And I also do busts as well. And I'm thinking of adding icons as well. I think that's a fun one that a lot of people like to get, just simply icons for their profile pictures. And if you are interested in that and don't want to do like a full bust, comment that down below, because I'm willing to do icons as well, because I think they're fun, and drawing so many new characters would be like literally such a joy, because people are so creative. And I have done a commission in the past. I haven't had many commission requests yet, but I am looking forward to the future where I hopefully will have more. And the rest of the process here is me doing touch-ups, which has become a new favorite of mine in the art process, because it's the point where I get to add more hair strands, fix up the eyebrows, make the like facial features less like line arty, because line art takes up a lot of my art, and doing paint overs with the touch-ups just adds that little oomph that I think a lot of artists succeed in doing, and I haven't done in the past. But now that I've learned to do it, it's so much fun. So much fun. But yeah, the rest of this is pretty straightforward. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope to start making a lot more of these draw with me videos because they're really fun to just chat about random topics. I still need to figure out like what I'm interested in talking about, but hopefully I will have a ton of ideas, and please consider liking and subscribing. I would appreciate that so much. I'll give you a kiss on your cheek, or not if that's not your vibe. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and have a great rest of your day and enjoy the rest of the speed paint.